It's finally time to embark on this season's big adventure, and it's the first trip that I would consider an actual expedition, a point-to-point with a plan, and of course, a loose enough plan to find some unexpected trouble. The desire to go north has grown pretty much every year, and with the new rig, we're equipped for pretty much anything. I'm very excited to say this season we're going to the Arctic Circle. In fact, we're going to the northernmost town in Canada accessible by road. I do have some key adventures planned along the way, but from Dawson City, Yukon north up the Dempster Highway is all brand new for me. And to top it all off, Destination Adventure is officially hosting its first full season guest. Emmy is flying in to make the transition from big city Japan living to no city remote Canada living, which I think should be a lot of fun. I am currently en route to Vancouver, where we will kick off our season expedition from the Canada-US border right to the very top. I am very excited and quite honored to officially welcome you all to the Arctic Circle experience.
In 600 meters, merge onto Trans-Canada Highway, British Columbia 1 West.
First big challenge of the season, getting the whole rig and the trailer through the city to the airport. Shouldn't be an issue. Nobody wants to get in a wreck any more than I do, especially not with this tank.
I was waking up this morning, waking up before it's getting 9.
Big rigging in the big city, stuck in a big old traffic jam. When the diesel's burning, the wheels are turning, am I right? Is that a Peterbilt? Or of a custom built? Hey, what's your GVW? Oh, I've always been known for big loads. Just got a 12 valve, Cummins. Turned up the fuel screw. Just sips fuel like a pack mule. You know what they say, rolling coal fuels the soul. They call this one a 5-speed, but it's really only a 1. Slow. As to be expected, the Vancouver Airport long-term waiting area does not accommodate a truck, let alone a truck and a trailer. So I have parked in just a spot beside the road with the largest no parking sign. I think it's going to be fine because as soon as I parked here, like 4 other people did immediately. Should be okay. Okie dokie, Emmy has officially arrived safe and sound. Flight was delayed, so we're coasting on a rock solid 3 hours of sleep, but ready for a grand adventure. First phase of the plan is pretty basic. Just gotta get back to Williams Lake. So there's really only 2 main routes to go from Lower Mainland to the Central Interior. You have the more popular, which is the Coquihalla, popularized by the television show Highway Through Hell. And then you have the canyon, Fraser Canyon to be exact, which is basically just a string of has-been towns. That's the route we're gonna take because it's absolutely beautiful. And we're just pulling into Hope right now, which is the entrance to the canyon, and coincidentally the largest town we're going to go through, and we'll be through it in less than 1 minute. trek back through the canyon has been pretty slow so far. If you remember back to the Mexico season, heading southbound with the Moho, we ran into some terrible flooding. And during that time, it actually washed out several sections here in the canyon and the Coquihalla. Actually, the whole north was stuck in the north. Well, years later, they're still working on repairing that. So we found ourselves a beautiful little camp spot here on the side of the Thompson River, caught up on a little bit of sleep, and today is our final push back to the puddle. Just dropping down the hill into Cache Creek, which is the end of the Fraser Canyon. And it's also where the turnoff to the Coquihalla meets up. Going forwards from here, it's basic. What?
Sounds like a Japanese
Coquihalla. And going forwards from here, it's basically just highway driving. So if you don't mind, we'll meet you guys in Williams Lake. Only a couple projects to do before we hit the road. And you might remember just a hint of an issue I had through the build with the rear end. And it turned out to be a total blessing in disguise. But I roasted the rear end on the rig. And that is not a conventional 1-ton truck. It's a cabin chassis. So it has a little bit bigger frame, longer frame, and a narrower rear end. Well, I saved it because it's got good gears and everything in it. But this side, my bearing locked up, and it totally wrecked it. That needs to be a perfectly machined, smooth surface for the bearings to sit on. So I just filed it smooth. This happened in Prince George. Filed it smooth to get home with new bearings, and then swapped the whole rear end for a conventional 1-ton rear end. It's 4 inches wider, so it actually fits way better with the rig, leaves room for the airbags and everything. But I had to stretch my existing brake lines. I knew it was going to be an issue. Now it is. We blew or cracked a brake line. So today we'll be learning how to do brake lines. And then this season, I really want to focus on sustainability on the road. So we're adding a freezer to the operation, which is going to be going in this compartment. Phase 1 of the plan is pretty straightforward. Just got to remove the brake line. Should be using a 3/8 line wrench, but our 3/8 line wrench is broken, so I'm using a 3/8 regular wrench. Since I'm replacing the whole thing, I'm not worrying about trying to save the existing brake line in any way. I'm just going to twist them off. I do try to be as prepared as possible because I travel remote locations, and I knew these brake lines would end up being an issue at some point. So I do have a flare kit with me on the road all the time with spare brake line. Pretty basic kit. Here's our chunk of line without the ends. And I just bought a 30-inch piece of 3/16 brake line, and I'll just match what's on there. So certainly I should be using a line bender tool, but I don't have one, so I'm just going to bend it by hand. And this is not in a challenging location, so I don't need to do any like crazy 90-degree bends or anything. I just need to kind of work it along the axle. Can you believe I purchased this kit brand new and it does not come with a line cutting tool, just a flaring tool? That is crazy. Funny enough, I think I must have known that I didn't have a cutter in that kit, because I'm fairly certain I have one in my toolbox here. Line cutter. This is an easy enough tool to use. I'm gonna cut my line a little long, then go dry fit it before I flare it. But the line just slips in there. Tighten it a little bit, spin it around. Just like that. A really nice, even cut. So that's gonna fit pretty nicely, just like that. I think I'll take another inch off of this thing, but this is where it starts getting fun because we get to create from scratch our very own automobile part, and that's a pretty nice feeling. A lot of people are scared of these kind of jobs, but you can purchase this kit and all the stuff you need for less than paying a mechanic to do it one time. So we're just gonna go ahead and put our 3/16 brake line in the 3/16 spot, tighten it down just a little bit. Then we'll take out our 3/16 piece. You'll know because it says right on it. And this is actually a stepped piece. If you can see on here. So what you want to do is lay that down, and you want your brake line through the length of that step. Then we're going to tighten it down pretty tight. We're going to stick the 3/16 nipple right in there. Now what we're making here is called a double flare. Step number one is to compress down the line into a kind of like a bubble. Step two, we're using our tool and just the tip of that tool, push it right down into the brake line, and we're gonna bottom that baby out. So there you have a nice, clean flare. That'll give you a good seal. But the cool thing about this job today is we get to do it twice because I forgot to put the end piece on it. Damn it. I had a slight bend on this line after I shortened it here. So it's not the cleanest flare, but I think it should do the trick no problem. You know what? Even with our mistake, there's still plenty enough brake line here. I'm really happy with this piece of brake line, actually. Nice length, just a perfect little bit of clearance everywhere, not touching anything. Should work perfectly. Now the final stage is bleeding, which you need a helper for, and lucky for me, I finally have a helper.
Okay, pump it. Okay, pump.
Should be good. Okie dokie, brakes are done. Time to replace the flare kit with a DC freezer. Size looks pretty gooder than I thought because it's just about as big as the box. It is, in fact, a Bouge RV product. I have partnered with them before. That's who did my solar panels and charge controller. But I purchased this because it was the most affordable option and had great reviews. So can't remember exactly what it was, 300 and something bucks Canadian. We plugged it in, geez, maybe 40 minutes ago. It's currently at minus 17 degrees Celsius. I think this is gonna be a neat little freezer, and the dimensions are perfect for my outdoor double door storage. Here we go, moment of truth. Will it fit? Though I know it will because I measured before I ordered it. And it's a perfect fit with extra room. But I don't know if we can utilize the shelf at all.
If you're wondering how much dust I deal with on the road, take a look at this shelf.
So I think that's going to be our basic install. professionally strapped in there too. One complaint I did read online is people don't like how there's no handle here, because there's not really a way to strap this thing down, and a lot of people are using it on the road. I'm going to be powering it off of my 400 amp hour battery, the house battery, and I think being a freezer, it should be far more efficient actually than a fridge. And I was thinking about hardwiring it, but I think what I'm going to do is just wire in one of these 12-volt cigarette things right into this compartment. So I guess our next step is a trip to town. Quick stop at Crappy Tire for some pretty basic wiring. This has a fuse in it, and it's really just an extender from your cigarette lighter, but I'll cut it before or after the fuse because I'm going to put it right into my fuse box here in the pass-through. Everything is concealed quite nicely, all the wiring. I'll put some silicone in there. There goes the compressor. She's definitely pulling a fair bit of juice, but I have a fair bit of juice to spare. Actually, not bad at all. Pulling 61 watts, 4.5 amps. And I'm guessing this thing is just gonna cycle on and off. It's saying it's -9 Celsius right now. I really don't think that's accurate because we have all the food currently thawed. But we'll see how she does. The freezer's officially installed. It's been running for approximately a week, so I have a pretty good idea of how well it's going to work and its consumption, and I am excited to say this thing is friggin' awesome. This has far surpassed my expectations for being the most affordable DC freezer on the market. The install, we did switch up a little bit. Originally it was strapped in against the back wall. Now, just because of space utilization, I spaced it out and then just put a little frame around it, and it's literally just sitting there. I know these compartments, especially now with the black wrap on it, if we're sitting in the sunshine, it is going to get hot. So I wanted this space all the way around so it has some room to breathe and cool itself. And of course I have the vents up top in every compartment, so that should help mitigate some of that heat. Now the freezer itself, I was surprised to see it took 2 entire days to freeze the food initially. Granted, the only thing we put in here that was frozen was ice cream sandwiches. Huge luxury in my life. But all of the meat was thawed, so it did take 2 days with the freezer on max. It seems like there's not a whole lot of difference between max and eco. Max is pulling 4.5 amps, and eco I think is pulling 4 amps, something like that. Either way, it's still really small because the fridge inside, if that's running on DC 12 volt, it's pulling 16 amps. The only time this is actually consuming electricity is at nighttime because I have 400 watts of solar on the roof, and throughout the night this pulls anywhere between 13 and 20 amps. We'll see how it does going into the summer because we're still pretty cold here at night. Where I'm camping right now is actually calling for -1 tonight, but I have the freezer set to -18, so it still does have to work even though it's below freezing. It seems to sit at -17 for whatever reason. I don't know if there's a sensor wrong or something in there, but that's by no means a complaint because it seems to sit there comfortably all day long, regardless of the temperature outside. We did have a couple days parked in direct sunlight, and it was, I think, 22 or 23 degrees Celsius, having big swings right now. And this thing still maintained -17 without an issue. So, all in all, I'm going to give this thing a great big checkmark, seal of approval from Destination Adventure. And with this installation, I think we're pretty much ready to hit the road. So let's all give Emmy a great big welcome to the Destination Adventure team. And thanks for watching, everybody.